the more important supplement they should consider and what is it. Because they say, okay, I eat healthy, I eat plenty, I eat a lot of food, I eat a very balanced diet, balanced fat, protein and everything. Why I still not healthy, right?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And one of the problems that I see, and it's not just in the medical industry, but it's in the health industry as well. What happens is people tend to forget that it's your body that makes you healthy, not and if you're eating something that's really good and good for you, if you can't digest it, it becomes toxic to the body.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many circumstances and many things where you can point to this. And if you eat too much of something, or you don't eat enough, or the food has been sprayed with poisons and things like that, it's not only the poisons that can be hurting you, but if you can't digest what you're eating, that's where the problems begin.
Mm-hmm.
And those, the body is designed to take those toxins, make fat tissue, store it in the fat tissue, so
Yes.
that you protect your organs. So it's prioritizing, constantly prioritizing. So I hear people all the time and they tell me, well, I'm eating this really good organic food and it's really wonderful. And yet you look at them and they've got a big stomach, they've got aches and pains, and they've got all these problems. And you think, well, if they're eating this good food, why aren't they feeling better? It has to do with digestion. And digestion is a factor of breaking down whatever it is that you're
Yes.
going to be eating.
Wow.
Now, so if you can't digest, then you're just building toxins in the body.
So, right. So I would say, I will summarize down. You are not what you eat. You are what you absorb,
And digest.
right?
Correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. And I hear all the time, people tell me, oh, you're what you eat. So they go to the store, they buy all this good food, and they get sick and wonder why. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, and so how about so tell me about acid reflux. Acid reflux, because I see like diets, a lot of people taking acid reflux, and a lot of like proton inhibitor. What do you think about that?
Well, 50% of all the people in the U.S. especially are suffering from acid reflux or indigestion. And that's a huge number. I think it's even larger, but that's what statistics say. And so what they do is they limit what they're eating and say, well, if I eat this, I don't get acid reflux, for instance. Good example is you go out and you eat a pizza. You
Yes.
come home and you have this terrible pain and acid feeling in your stomach. And so the first thing you think of is, what can I do to get rid of this pain? And you take what's called an antacid, like, as you say, a proton inhibitor. That's one of the worst things that you can do, because it's the opposite of what is causing the problem.
Yes.
The problem really isn't too much stomach acid, but it's the nasty acids that form when you don't make enough stomach acid. Now, if you define stomach acid as any acid in the stomach, well, then that's where you'll see, when you go to the pharmacy, you'll see brochures like talking about GERD.
Yes.
Okay, well, they're lumping all of the acids into that. Okay, so that's where the problem starts.
Yes.
Okay, and
Okay.
that's the cause of the problem.
Cause.
Is not hydrochloric acid, which is stomach acid, but it's the other acids that form because you don't have enough hydrochloric acid to create the sanitization and breaking down, especially your proteins.
Yes.
That's where the problem is.
Okay.
That's where the problem starts.
Yes, because it's because of the low stomach acid, so they not create, so they're not like making, they're not digesting the protein.
That's right.
So that's why protein.
You're not
ferment-
really breaking down the food the way
Yes.
the body is designed.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's where the problem is. Now, so what happens is a good example, if you go to the dump, a city dump, and
Okay.
everyone should do this at least once, drive there and smell the smell.
Okay.
That smell is methane gas being given off by all of these rotting foods and putrefying. So
Okay.
what happens in your stomach, if you don't make good hydrochloric acid, is the food putrefies. Now the valves at the bottom of the stomach and the top of the stomach close.
Uh-huh.
You swell up and you get bloating.
Okay.
The acid from those nasty acids want to get out
Mm-hmm.
because the pressure's building in the
Yes.
stomach, and it opens the valve at the top of the stomach,
Uh-huh.
and you get acid reflux.
Yes.
That burns the esophagus,
Esophagus.
and the solution that you're given is to take an antacid.
Mhm.
Well, that gets rid of the pain.
Yes.
It stops the acid from creating this putrefaction.
Ah.
But what happens now is that antacid has stopped your digestion
Uh-huh.
of the protein.
Yes.
It stops your sanitation.
Oh.
So now the food that goes down through that pyloric sphincter at the bottom of the stomach
Uh-huh.
gets into your small intestine and creates all kinds of problems.
And yes, and kick and create it. So that's why.
IBS,
Because-
Crohn's, all of those things are
Mhm.
coming from these this putrefaction, and it feeds bacteria, parasites, all kinds of things, and that's where a lot of problems start happening.
Yes. So actually, because too much acids, but because of the low stomach acid, the low HCl,
Yes, and
and
what,
so because of that, they create low stomach acid that cause them.
yeah, the deception
Mhm.
is they say that stomach acid is causing the problem. All these brochures and literature you read, oh, it's a stomach acid. No, it's not the stomach acid that your body makes to digest. It's the stomach acid from the putrefaction of the
Yes.
food. So it
Because
is.
so they may include in like acetic acids, lactic acids. It's all of that's because of they fermented inside your stomach.
Yes. And so the nasty acids, you can call them stomach acids because they're in the stomach.
Yes.
So it's really deceptive.
Yeah, very confusing.
Very deceptive.
Yeah. So in this case, like, and then people have a very painful intestinal pain after eating because of
Yeah.
because of the wrong fermentation of the bad, like
Yes, and
the bad
your,
food, the bad bacteria.
the hydrochloric acid is made in your parietal cells
Yes.
that line your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is where candida lives, in your parietal cell. So what happens is candida is a very symbiotic relationship with the body. But what happens is if candida builds up, if you eat too much sugar,
Yes.
feeding that, and as the candida builds up, it makes it harder and harder to make hydrochloric acid.
Yes.
So sugar is a part of that. The real problem
The real
is the
problem
putrefaction of this food.
Yes.
So
Right.
it's just rotting, sitting in
It's
there.
rotting.
Yeah.
It's really rotting inside.
A really good thing to do.
A good thing, like, because so that's why I say because I read some study. They say they can yield the dog to smelling people to predicting that they will have a cancer or not.
Oh yeah.
Because of wrong fermentation.
Yeah, you can actually develop an ulcer by
Yeah.
being deficient in hydrochloric acid. because H. pylori or Helicobacter
Yes.
pylori causes acid or causes ulcers. And so if you're deficient in hydrochloric acid, you can develop ulcers. And all of these things, and the hydrochloric acid is a major factor in making the first step in making vitamin B12.
Yes.
So you could become deficient in vitamin B12.
Wow.
All of these problems. Now, one of the things that happens also is that if you don't make enough hydrochloric acid, as the food goes through the pyloric sphincter into the small intestine, right there is where you digest your calcium, magnesium, zinc, and iron. Now, that only happens if the pH is low enough. It needs to be between 1.5 and 3.0. So if you are creating this nasty stomach acid like that, and you take an antacid, it raises the pH, goes through. Now you're not digesting your calcium, magnesium, zinc, and iron.
Wow.
Now they become toxic to the body.
Yes.
Even the best product.
Even the best
So
product.
what happens is that calcium now has to be gotten rid of by the body. So what it does, it gets rid of some of it through the intestine, but a lot of it goes to the eye where it's stored as cataracts,
Cataract, yes.
bone spurs, kidney stones. So what has this antacid done for you?
And even like the breast seed as well, because it's some kind of a calcification, and doctor can easy to identify it as,
Yeah, and
cancer.
there's some other things now that's going on that are creating huge problems for calcium that is toxic, and we'll get into that maybe at another
Okay.
subject.
So we